So this is a wooden cross puzzle, also known as a Burr puzzle. It's a wooden puzzle made up of 6 pieces interlocking together to make this shape right here. This is a super fun puzzle, both to make and to play with. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to make one of these. And if you stick around to the end, I might also show you how to solve it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's get started building this thing. So this is what the puzzle looks like assembled. And this is what the puzzle looks like disassembled. All in all, there's 6 pieces. They're all the same basic shape with different parts cut out of them. So let's have a look at how to make the different pieces for this puzzle. They all start their life as one of these. Okay, so this is how the pieces are made. So these are the basic proportions of all the pieces. Both of the short sides are the same length, making a square on top. And the length of the pieces is 3 times the width of the piece. So basically, it's just 3 cubes stacked on top of each other. Now, if you take all the sides and draw a line down the middle, we end up with this grid pattern. And this is what we're going to use as a reference to create the different shapes, by removing a certain amount of those smaller cubes. But first things first, let's decide what we're going to make these out of. The easiest thing is to just start with a piece of square stock. You can get these in any hardware or home improvement store, and you can use whatever material and size you want as long as it's square stock. Or if you have some wood laying around, you can use that as well. I had this leftover piece of oak, so I used a table saw to cut myself a couple of pieces of oak square stock. A bandsaw also works great to do this. The only important thing is that both short ends are the exact same width. That will make life much easier once we start assembling these pieces. So now that we have our pieces of square stock, it's time to cut them to length. And as I said, the length is going to be 3 times the width of the piece. In my case, I made these 20 millimeters wide, so the length is going to be 60 mil. And if you, let's say, start with 1 inch of square stock, the length will be 3 inches. You get the deal. So now that we have all 6 pieces cut, it's time to turn these things into a puzzle. And to make this next step a lot easier, I've gone ahead and made these templates. So you can download and print these out. I'll leave a link to my Patreon page where you can find all of these down below. So this template is for 20 millimeter. I made a bunch of different sizes. Just make sure to download and print out the one that fits for you. And if for some reason the square stock that you have is a different size than the template, just make sure to scale it so it fits exactly. That is very important for this next step. So there's 6 pieces of this puzzle, and congratulations, you're already done with the first one. As for the remaining 5, we're going to use this template. So each one of these squares is one of the pieces. So what we're going to do is cut all these out. And now that all of these are cut out, we can fold them along the 3 dotted lines. And now that we've folded along all those dotted lines, it should turn into something looking very similar to the pieces that we cut out. And this is why it's very important that the paper and the pieces are the same exact size, because now we can wrap them around here and they should fit perfectly and have no visible gaps. And now that they do, we're going to use some normal glue stick and glue them onto the pieces of wood. All the paper is glued on. Now to the fun part, actually cutting these out. Oh, and by the way, if you don't want to go ahead and download the templates and cut them out, glue them on, all of that, no problem. You can also just measure out the dimensions and draw them on. I've done that a few times and it works great. But so far, my experience has been that doing it this way is both quicker and gives a more precise result. I'll leave some pictures of these at the end of the video so you can use those as reference if you want to draw them on by hand. So in the template, the red section is what we want to remove. And for this specific puzzle, all the cuts will be the exact same. You always want to cut halfway through the piece on the inside of the line, all the way down to the center. And that goes for all the red squares on all sides of the puzzle. Now there's a lot of ways you can cut these out, so just do whatever you're most comfortable with. I've cut these out using both the table saw and the bandsaw, and both methods work just fine. But for this video, we're going a bit more old school and using a handsaw. And to help me cut these pieces out more precisely, I've gone ahead and made myself a super quick jig, made up of a piece of MDF with 2 pieces of plywood glued onto it, using one of our pieces as a spacer so that it fits perfectly in here. And now lining up the saw to the inside of the line, we're going to cut all the way down to the center mark using our guide to make sure that we cut straight. And do that to the inside of all the little red squares. And once you've done that, you should end up with something looking like this. Now, if you're doing this on a table saw or a bandsaw, you can just keep doing this and removing a little bit more material at a time until all the red sections are gone. In my case, since I do this by hand, I'm now going to use a couple of chisels and remove the rest of the material this way. Being careful and removing just a little bit at a time, I'm going to chisel out all the remaining red sections. And once you have a piece looking like this, a good test to see if you've removed enough material is to use one of the other pieces and see if it fits inside of the pockets that you cut out. It shouldn't be too tight. You want it to slide around fairly freely. And for the wider sections, you want 2 pieces to fit in there. Use whatever you're comfortable with. Chisel, sandpaper, or file to remove a little bit of material at a time until you have pieces that fit nicely together. And once you're happy with the way this fits together, you can just peel off the paper, removing whatever is stuck with a damp cloth. Now that's basically it. All the 6 pieces are cut out. But before I show you how these fit together, I'm gonna give them a quick sanding, break the edges a little bit, and then give them a protective coat of hard oil. And there we have it. All the pieces are dry and the puzzle fits together. So that'll be it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! I'm just joking. I'll show you how to solve the puzzle. But before I do, you should pause the video right here, go and subscribe to my channel, like the video, and then try and figure out how to solve this puzzle on your own. Okay? Did you do it? Did you figure it out? If not, here's how to solve the puzzle.